All right, it's starting to record. Five, four, three, two. Hello, Red Spotters. I'm Kyle Lira, and we have a special podcast for you. Today was premiered of a new episode of Once Upon a Time, and also we have Walking Dead going to be discussing. How are you, Alexis?
I'm doing good, but though I should let you know that I haven't seen Once Upon a Time, so we can't talk about that.
Ah, darn. I thought you watched once. Alright, then I guess Walking Dead. It is bigger, right now.
It's a television show, you know.
So right now, and it's popping right now. It's all over Twitter, Facebook, everything. So, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Walking Dead.
I just hope you understand. We didn't want to hurt you. Nothing was personal.
You don't have to do this.
You have a choice. I will kill you. It's not over till they're all dead. They don't get to live. No matter what anyone says. Here! No matter what you think. You are not safe. It only takes 1 second. And it's over. Never let your guard down.
Now, to begin this whole thing, what a badass Carol is. I mean, she just blew Terminus sky high, and she was a helping factor in this, and she...
It's an extreme understatement to say that Carol single-handedly showed Terminus up.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I were having, discussions, even after the season finale.
Turned down for what?
We were having discussions way back in March as to who's gonna save them? Carol? Do you think she's gonna be able to do it? Carol? We were saying Carol and Tyrese. We had never even imagined Carol by herself rescuing them.
Yeah.
And my God, what an episode this was.
She was incredibly, she was vicious. I love that. This is a vicious episode. I mean, Rick just said, let's go, and he stabbed those people, and my God, when they were making, they almost went, MacGruber, onto the whole thing, because they were making weapons out of things that were already in the little mine train thing, and so then they were, yeah, it was just mind-blowing. I can't even speak right now with all the awesomeness that was surrounded it. Daryl, he had a very sweet reunion with Carol. I mean, he was the first one to run to Carol. I mean, what did you think of that?
I was hoping we would say that for the end, but if we gotta talk about it right now, let's talk about it right now. I was so looking forward to that in such a long time, and what was so great about that reunion? If we can just take a couple of minutes to talk about that. It's really interesting when you look at it. This episode as a whole feels so much like a season finale, not so much as a season premiere.
Yeah, it's because it has a lot of hope. It has everything like that. They defeated the bad guy, and all that. So it was very action packed. It was very heavy, very emotion set. I really love that.
But when you look at it, I mean, that's what people wanted to experience for the season 4 finale, and we didn't get to have a full kind of great reunion at the end of it. And I think what's actually kind of masterful, if you think about this from the perspective of the writers and the producers, the payoff was just so much more emotional having this as the season premiere, because it was even longer having the crew completely at all different odds. This was the reunion we wanted to see.
It gave it time to set itself in to, fully realize that everybody's back together and they're all walking towards the thing. And did you see the reveal at the end?
Oh my God, the post-credit scene, I literally was going bananas.
Well, I don't know what's his name, but I'll look it up.
Huh. It's Morgan.
Morgan, yeah, there you go. Look at that, outshowing
He was
the
from
big.
the pilot episode and from a very great episode of season 3.
And I thought he was dead, but when Morgan showed up and he took off his mask and all this stuff, I'm like, no. And so that they're gonna have a powerful ally with them to side.
Who knows what's going on with that? Because it would appear as if he's more mannered now. The last time we saw him,
He wasn't very sane. He had that. He was going little loco in the hot cocoa kind of thing.
And
so
if you look at it, it's interesting because Morgan seemed as if he was following the signs just as everybody else was. He was heading towards the sanctuary. He was going to be with other people. That is the way it's looking. Is it at any point possible, now that we're talking about this, would it be possible that Morgan was more or less tracking Rick down instead of Terminus?
that is a very logical explanation of why he's been doing that. I honestly, I don't know. Nobody knows at this point because there were so many unpredictable twists with that. I mean, I did not see Carol being basically Superman and saving the day. I mean, I think without Carol, Rick would have been dead. I mean, that is no question about it.
What a connection she had. I mean, people may be surprised we're talking about so much of Carol because there's so many characters, but she pretty much was the main character in this episode. She was the
MacGuffin.
She redeemed herself.
Mm-hmm.
And if people who saw Talking Dead, what Scott Gimple said is that it took the awkwardness away of the group, knowing what she had done last season. She's now fully redeemed and welcomed back in.
Yeah, it's definitely they basically rolled out the welcome mat. They basically rolled out the welcome mat and said, welcome back in, you, Tyrese, and oh my gosh, that tender reunion with Judith and Rick and Carl, that was tender.
That was nice to see. But for me, Carol and Daryl's reunion was just so it had me. I'm not ashamed to say I was crying at that reunion because I don't know why it may have been that way. Maybe because I was so on edge throughout the entire episode, and I was just waiting for those two to reunite. But Daryl instantly was in tears, and so was I. I mean, that was just so. It was beautiful, honestly. It's moments like these that make the show all worth it, honestly.
It had everything, in store for it. I mean, it followed the standard Pixar formula. It had the action. It had had a little bit of humorous moments. I mean, not just. I mean, it's not the humorous moments that you would think, but just the fact that everything was just so badass. This is textbook badassery. And everything just went in full circle, almost full circle. I mean, we saw a preview of the next season, of the next episode, which looked very, compelling, very interesting.
It features, not to be a too spoiler, but it also features Father Gabriel from the comics.
Yeah.
Coming up with that, which may be correlated with Beth's storyline or not. Or maybe with that nearby house they were staying at. I mean, there's just so many questions regarding that.
Maybe.
To touch upon.
We have to stay tuned. And by the way, Walking Dead airs on AMC at 8 o'clock Standard Pacific Time, 7 o'clock.
For hitting them with the obvious, Kyle. No, The Walking Dead is actually moving to the Barely News Crew. It's actually going to air there every Sunday. It's like, oh, really?
At least we'll get viewers. But I digress.
Listen, Michonne, did you get a load of her lightsaber, her dual lightsaber she had?
Yeah, I mean it was like they're pretty nifty. They were like all that stuff, and it turns out that Eugene might have a plan after all.
Yeah, we were actually curious because if I'm aware, the comic storyline is where Eugene is just BSing, and it may still be that after all. But Eugene's answer was actually pretty concise and plausible.
Yeah, so it turns out he's not BSing after all. It's just I was like worried, like I was like I could see like the fear, the way he was acting, very jittery and all that stuff. And then he's saying, you know, we're gonna take the pathogens of the things, and I'm like, this, whoa, okay, that this is actually gonna work out for his favor, because not only does he know the cure all end all answer, but it is
But it isn't going to be something like, if this is actually going to happen, and it's going to be a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. If this actually comes to fruition the way he is seeing, it's not going to be an all-at-once cure. It's preparing themselves for a genocidal war here.
I mean, they have themselves, okay, first of all, the journey of 1,000 miles begins at half 1,000 miles, because it does take over 500 miles to get from Georgia to Washington, D.C., and that's going to be a trek on itself. And by what we got from the original Season 5 opening trailer that Comic-Con released to us,
Yes.
it did help that kind of thing with the whole, we got to get along kind of thing with the people from Terminus who survived and the current survivors that is going on. And we know that they're going to, tag team in there somehow. But
well, I mean, if we can just ponder on that for a second, what's left of Terminus? I mean, Carol did quite a number on that. I mean, look at the damn thing; it was burning to the ground, and that's exactly what we wanted to see. I mean, if I'm accurate, I would say, because we know from the trailers Gareth is going to come back. I'm really interested how Rick is going to even allow that, and maybe
he's going to plan his kill. That's what he's going to do.
I mean, look, we'll get to Rick in a minute, but Gareth, an interesting part of the episode, we had some flashbacks into Gareth and his brother Alex and his mom, which was Mary, the girl, the older woman. They were actually, from what we can tell, the original people who conceived the Terminus, but then they ended up being overrun by other people. And it's really, on the surface, it's a really unfortunate story that happened to them. But it's kind of hard to feel any sympathy towards them, considering the horrors that we have later on.
Because the whole thing, I mean, yeah, I do feel kind of a bit of sympathy, like what the little monologue she did to Carol in that little sanctuary.
I'm sorry, you're either the butcher or the cattle. That's the new theme of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, Fear the Dead, Fear the Living used to be the kind of thing, but it's just everything that came along into fruition with that monologue just made the stakes a little bit higher, because they're gonna stand by their standards no matter what. So nobody's gonna change that mentality that they have, which puts everything at much more of a higher stake.
I mean, if we can examine a couple other things from this episode.
Speaking of steak, sorry to interrupt, but speaking of steak, did you see that they were preparing their next meal in the beginning?
Yeah, I know. The thing about that, here is what we need to consider here. I think even from this episode, we can now understand as to why the cast was actually questioning why this can be aired on television. Because look, at the first 4 minutes, we had 4 people that were completely their throats were slashed open, and the camera didn't even turn away. They showed us that. And just a little tidbit here: the first guy that had his throat slashed open was Sam from earlier in season 4, and who also did this Penguin on Gotham.
Which, by the way, you guys got to watch it just for his performance. He's stellar as Penguin.
But I mean, just that in itself was. And the fact, another interesting thing that went on with Tyrese's storyline is that something that because we haven't had a chance to see Tyrese since that infamous episode now of season 4 with
hashtag don't look at the flowers.
Exactly. He's still very reeling from that. He's just trying to recover from Lizzie, Mika, and the fact that Carol killed Karen and David. And even at this episode, we need to talk about this. At the beginning of this episode, Tyrese is just so shaken up, he refuses to kill anyone. And Carol even says to him that she does not intend to stay at Terminus. Why do you think that is? Maybe because she knows it's too good to be true, or because she doesn't want to cause any more awkward feeling with Tyrese, or any of the other people that might be at Terminus.
Honestly, I think it's a little bit of both.
Maybe.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, she does feel that awkwardness. I mean, remember how they held that guy captive in that
Yeah,
in that building,
he asked Tyrese, "Is she your friend?"
and then
he
he
was-
hesitated. He hesitated,
Scream.
and so we had that, and then after that whole little thing that happened, they did have he's starting to warm up to her. He's starting to warm up to her, especially for after what she did. He now comes to full fruition that she's trying to get, you know, everybody alive, as, you know, she's not only looking out for herself, she's looking out for everybody. And when she saw Rick go inside that little slaughterhouse, she knew immediately. She knew immediately. Oh, and by the way, if you're still listening to this, if you haven't told already, there's a lot of spoilers, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Kyle always forgets to say that it's going to be spoilers. But you know, everything we do is always spoilers. One thing, there's so many things about this episode, but may be the creepiest things we've seen since that whole episode with the governor and Andrea. If not just because of the bodies or the decapitated things that we saw there. I mean, when Daryl, Rick, Glenn, and Bob walked into that, we'll call it the workplace. Yeah, they just were like, these, and Daryl's line was great, "These aren't people."
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great line.
Another thing about the whole scenario thing right there is that I was watching it with my stepdad and my brother, and all of us, they put the thing where they were okay, Rick was hiding behind a car, right, and he was gonna attack these people that were shooting the things. He pointed out, did he deliberately maim those people that way they could suffer from the walkers? And then I'm like this, you know what? That's actually, you know, not of bad character from Rick's perspective, because Rick did have that kind of vibe about him, like saying, you know, I mean, he deserves it. A little slight bit of revenge kind of thing, like leaving them to the walkers to be eaten. And
I think now we can go ahead and talk about Rick here. Let's focus on Rick. He was just, at the beginning of the episode, he was just ready to pounce.
Mm-hmm.
He was more than happy to do so. And there were a couple of things that he said that we need to take into consideration. Okay, when they got free, it's like they don't don't even give him a chance, just get them. And a couple of things here, we need to stop here and look at this. As they were exiting that little workplace, and Glenn heard some people that were trapped in the car, it's like, we have to help them, that's still who we are. And Rick was like, it's not, but okay. I mean, he wanted to say to Glenn, you know, that's not who we are anymore, but okay, we'll do it for right now. And then that ended up backfiring, like, not even a second later.
And then Glenn was like saying, yep, just screw it, just leave everybody back.
And then when they escaped, Rick was hell-bent on, like, we're going to go in there, we're going to kill every last one of them, and if I can be exact, they don't get to live. And I don't know if you caught Glenn and Maggie, specifically them, their reactions to what was going on. Let alone Abraham and Rosita, who don't even know the guy before any of this, but just focus on Glenn and Maggie. Their expressions were kind of like, Rick, did you go through some unforeseen character development that we haven't seen? Did we miss an episode?
Here, okay, Maggie, Glenn, there's this thing called Netflix. You could go watch your lives, and you're like, what? This is a reality show? Oh my god, that would be a plot twist. All of this would be like some sort of sick, twisted, and then there you have the Hunger Games. Oh my god, this is like, don't fanfic me on this, but this is incredible.
Yeah, Rick here is like, there's no more Herschel to keep him grounded. He accepts who he is, and if I'm not mistaken, I think all the times he was killing them, he was enjoying every last bit of it.
Yeah.
That's something we rarely see protagonists do. That's something like one of the ultimate antagonists of all time, like Darth Sidious, enjoys doing. I mean, or the governor, I mean. don't even have to bring him back up here.
I think the reason why he was enjoying it was because he's just tired of it all.
Yeah.
He's just tired of it all, and and thoroughly, I don't blame him. I mean, I would be, if I was in his position, I'd be doing the same thing too. But he does know who his friends is, and he does know who is, enemy and who is not, and he does. It's his family, He doesn't want any harm to do to his family, and he's gonna do whatever it takes. It's not gonna be none of this. We're this committee anymore. He's gonna do whatever it takes to keep them safe, especially Carl.
And Judith, of course, who we just happened to get
reunited.
Again, I think, is it much of a surprise that Terminus was dealt with so quickly?
No, because like Rick said at the end of the fourth season, they're screwing with the wrong people. No good reason, I mean, I think now Gareth realizes that Gareth has said met his match, and so now it's going to be like Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes. They're going to both be, the kind of right balance of wits.
From what I take, a couple of fans were half expecting the Terminus plotline to be very prevalent, but apparently we're almost pretty much done with it. Now our group is on the road, and I think for the first time in a long time, it's pretty unpredictable what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm. It is very unpredictable. I mean, you have all these different contributing factors. I mean, you do have Beth's story, which needs to be written again. You have
it's very reminiscent of the first season because
we
were on that farm in that prison for a long time. I mean,
and might I say, now that you mention it, that look that Rick gave when he saw Judith again is the same look that he gave when he came back to the campground in season 1 when he first saw Lori and Carl. That was the same look. It's very, very it's a mirror. It's a mirror on that same scenario because he did feel hopeless and that he'll never see him again.
There are a lot of mirrors on the show. I mean, could you have ever imagined a sweet little Carol from the first season would single-handedly break into a fortress or a compound and rescue everyone? Did you ever see that coming?
I was a little bit skeptical with her character. I thought that, like, okay, she's a throwaway character and all that stuff. She is without a doubt in my top 3 favorite characters of The Walking Dead, because
this episode is she makes it. She's my favorite now. She's my favorite. I love her.
And I'm like, and all the fans of Walking Dead out there who are missing the action-packedness from the second half of the fourth season, there you go. There's their answer. It's a little bit of best of both worlds. There's the heartfelt moments. There's everything. I mean, it's just a perfectly well-rounded present to all the Walking Dead fans who've been patiently waiting since March to rewatch every single one of these episodes. I mean,
I think really the hardest thing going forward is this, in my opinion. The back half of the fourth season, we spent so much more time with little bits and groups of our characters, and more than the show had previously given enough time to. And because of that, you get great character development, but at the same time, it makes it harder for fans to let go of some of these characters. And what is it you told me when I first got into the show, Kyle? Don't get too attached.
Yeah.
How many people do you think we're going to be losing by the time we get to the finale later this year?
I have the slightest idea.
It's the biggest group they've had. It's the biggest group they've had and the best, because everyone, I mean, has pretty much a purpose of being there.
Mm-hmm. And I
agree that the last 8 episodes made a convincing argument that they all have a purpose and they're all pretty valuable assets.
Oh yeah,
including Farah.
Everybody, yeah.
By the way, I wait to see what Rick thinks of that.
Of what?
Because I'm sure he can remember her, because he pointed out, Rick and Tara, remember back when the governor destroyed the prison and killed Herschel? She was there.
Yeah.
Rick pointed her out.
Oh yeah.
If you recall that.
I do remember. Okay. Refreshed memory here. But it's. I think now he's more accepting now that she's on his side, because anybody's.
Well, we haven't seen that, and the producers Scott Gimple and Greg Nicotero had confirmed that next episode we're going to see some of that come into clash as well. I mean, the thing is, the group is now back together. All of them individually have been to some pretty serious stuff, like Carol and with Glenn and everybody. When they all come together, they're going to pretty much tell their stories as to what exactly happened. And I'm really interested to see if they're going to bring up Lizzie and Mika and the whole Carol thing. That's what I'm most interested in.
I'm pretty sure they're going to bring up Lizzie and Mika, but I think
just for like a second or so.
Yeah, I mean, like, what happened to... Well, let's just say they looked at some flora and fauna.
They let the flowers arrange themselves.
Yeah. But, might I say, this is probably one of the most cinematically beautiful episodes I've ever seen.
I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm calling it. This is my favorite episode already. I think this rivals anything else for the best episode. Obviously, best season premiere. This was so worth. This is what the last 8 episodes was leading up to. This is definitely up there. Maybe it's in your top 5, but I'm putting it in number 1 for right now because the payoff was just so much worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. Everything was put to place. Everything was there. All around perfect episode. Overall perfect episode. I give the episode 4.5, 5.
It was amazing.
It was. I mean,
simply put, it was amazing.
And it was, and the score behind it, it had the right level of string. It had the right level of everything that was going on for it. You know. So I really liked that, and I really appreciated everything that went on into making this episode. And I think do you think we ramble on about this episode long enough?
Yeah, there's just one more thing I want to point out that we should think about. How dark, aside from the whole cannibalism and the slashing of the throats, that guy had his arms around Judith's neck. That was a thing that happened here. This shouldn't be overlooked.
Okay.
I mean, that just goes into how dark they're going to go this season. And this is just the first episode, mind you. There's like 15 more to go. How more can they possibly go? They almost... I'm being serious. The guy had his arms around Judith's neck, and he threatened... He even said it. A twist is all it takes.
And to put it to quote Stan from South Park, this was not a movie, this was a snuff film. It was like probably it's probably the most bloodiest episode of Walking Dead. Do you agree?
Yeah, easily one of the best, one of the creepiest, one of the most controversial and most talked about and most anticipated. When people think of The Walking Dead, they will look to this episode as being one of the most iconic. I will call it right now. Mm-hmm. This is what The Walking Dead is all about.
Robert Kirkman held the Walking Dead, waiting for it to run, and then it just went off. Whoosh! Started running. And I really like that. It got you hooked again. It got you hooked for Walking Dead.
I can't wait for more.
And speaking of Hook...
Hopefully we can do this for a weekly thing.
And speaking of Hook, you gotta watch the new episode of Once Upon a Time. I think it kicked it up a notch. I think it definitely kicked it up a notch.
That's gonna be something hard to do because my DVR didn't record it, so who knows if I'll even get the chance to see it. Unless you want to invite me over to see it, I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to.
Maybe, who knows. But this is definitely a great episode of The Walking Dead. This is a Red Spotlight Entertainment, and over Skype I have Alexis Soto with me, and we're gonna catch you later, guys, and check in for more Red Spotlight Entertainment. Bye.